In this video, we'll have a look at process control, spare part, maintenance, emergency powers. Maybe not too much in detail, but again, some checkpoints in regard to the waterworks and also the wastewater treatment plant. When we now look at the emergency power, spare part, maintenance and the overall situation for operating the plants, we have two parts, the wastewater treatment plant and the waterworks, of course. So let's have a look at a checklist. In the previous video, we looked at online measurements, and these will be one part of the operating, maintenance and control. Let's have a look at the more general but a little bit more detailed list on what you need to think about in regard to the overall operation of the plant. First, we talked about online measurement and alarms. This, of course, you have in the wastewater treatment plant, you have it in the waterworks. Automatic shut-off. This is something you have to see when that is needed. Also, if it comes from the wastewater treatment plant, how does it affect the waterworks? Then, continuous monitoring of power supply and stable power supply. This is of course very dependent on where you are on the grid, the electrical grid. Are you far out? Are there risks for power breakage? Are there risks for, lightning? So forth and so on. This you need to check for in the wastewater treatment plant and the waterwork. It affects both of them in the same way. Next, full emergency power. This of course is in regard to the previous with the power supply and where you are on the grid. This you have to consider in the wastewater treatment plant, also in the waterworks. And again, looking at the distribution of the drinking water, for example. How much emergency power do you need there? That's also something you need to consider. Auto start of backup equipment comes with a risk analysis. What equipment do you need to back up, so forth and so on. This is of course relevant for the wastewater treatment plant as well as for the waterworks. Reservoir volume, minimum 12-hour supply at plant shutdown. This would be in the waterworks. So if you have a malfunction, a breakdown, you should have maybe 12 hours of water to supply. Then routine calibration and control of monitoring equipment. This is very important for the wastewater treatment plant as well as for the waterworks. So some points, very important points in regard to minimizing risk and handling the distribution of drinking water in case of an emergency. This is of course a complex area, and I would recommend, if you're interested, that you go in and read a Norwegian publication of microbarrier analysis. And you also have some tables here that is very good and interesting to read in regard to this. So with that, some words on the maintenance and operation. Maintenance is very, very important, as is the continuous operation. So let's have a look at a short checklist I made, so I don't forget anything. The maintenance system should have every component registered. The maintenance system should also have a description of the services done on the components and its parts. Also, the maintenance system, in that you shall find all the malfunction that has been reported and also measures to correct it. And the details of the component should be so that you see a single UV aggregate, a PLC, valve actuator, a pump, etc. All working orders, all maintenance shall be handled by the maintenance system. So if you should fix a pump or a UV system or an actuator or whatever, the working order shall be handled by the maintenance system, so it's registered and stored. Also, and very importantly, All emergency functions shall be tested regularly. And again, this is, how should I say, my idea, at least once a year, depending on risk level. But that, of course, is always depending on how your system looks. So with this short summary, this is how I view on the maintenance system and what you need to put into it and what you need to get back from it to have a very, very good control over all your working components in your operation and your system. The next video, which actually is the last of the 12 in this series, I will walk you through the plant lab of the wastewater treatment plant and the waterworks.